Thou seest I have more flesh than another man, and therefore more frailty. You confess, then, you picked my pocket? It appears to be... It appears so by the story. Hostess, I forgive thee. Go make ready breakfast. Love thy husband, look to thy servants, cherish thy guest. Thou shalt find me tractable to any honest reason. Thou seest I am pacified. Still, nay, prithee, be gone. Now how? To the news at court. For the robbery, lad, how is that answered? Oui, my sweet beef, I must still be good angel to thee. The money's paid back again. Oui, I do not like that paying back. 'Tis a double labor. I am good friends with my father, and may do anything. Rob me, the executor, the first thing that dost, and do it with unwashed hands too? Do, my lord. I have procured thee, Jack, a charge of foot. I would it had been a worse. Where should I find one that can steal well? Oui. For fine... Oui. For fine thief, of the age of 22, or thereabouts, I am heinously unprovided. Well, God be thanked for these rebels. They offend none but the virtuous. I laud them. I praise them. Bardolph, my lord, go bear this letter to Lord John of Lancaster. To my brother John. This is my lord of the Westmoreland. Go, Poins, to horse, for thou and I have 30 miles to ride ere dinner time. Jack, meet me tomorrow in the Temple Hall at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There shalt thou know thy charge, and there receive money in order for their furniture. The land is burning. Percy stands on high, and either we or they must lower lie. Rare words. Brave world, hostess, my breakfast come. Wait, I could wish this tavern were my drum.
Carlos, you didn't even think to ask fine young lady your name? She is an elite operative of RPD Special Tactics.
So this is pretty much some of that. That's what you're doing.
Her name is something Valentine.
He's vacuuming through the camera, the bubble.
Jill.
Stop doing it. You can pay for it. You can come watch it.
I am UBC.
Act 4, Henry IV, Part 1.
My team was
Latching onto my voice with it,
rescued
what you're doing. Oh, yeah.
How's that going for you?
Oh, most definitely. Before we continue, oh, most definitely. There's gonna be some concealment bullshit where you're shooting out of cameras.
Will wind up dead. Correction, undead.
In Act 4, Scene 1, the rebel camp near Shrewsbury. Enter Hotspur, Worcester, and Douglas.
Just keeping them alive.
Well said, my noble Scot, if speaking truth, in this fine age were not thought flattery. Such attribution should the Douglas have, as not a soldier of the seasoned stamp should go so general current through the world. By God, I cannot flatter. Do defy the tongues of Seward, but a braver place in my heart's love hath no man than to yourself. Nay, task me to my word, approve me, Lord. Thou art the king of honor. No man so potent breathes upon the ground, but I will beard him. Do so, and 'tis well. Enter a messenger with letters. What letters hast thou there? I can but thank you. These letters come from your father. Letters from him. What comes he not himself? He cannot come, my lord. He is grieving sick. Zounds, how hath he the leisure to be sick in such a justling time? Who leads his power? Under whose government come they along? His letters bear his mind, not I, my lord. I prithee tell me, doth he keep his bed? He did, my lord, 4 days ere I set forth, and at that time on my departure thence he was much feared by his physicians. I would the state of time had first been whole, ere he by sickness had been visited. His health was never better worth than now. Sick now, droop now, this sickness doth infect the very lifeblood of our enterprise. 'Tis catching hither, even to our camp. He writes me here, that inward sickness, and that his friends by deputation could not by soon be drawn. nor did he think it meet to lay so dangerous and dear a trust on any soul removed but on his own. Yet doth he give us bold advertisement. That was a small conjunction. We should on to see how fortune is disposed to us. For as he writes, there is no quailing him, because the king is certainly possessed of all our purposes. What say you to it? Your father's sickness is a maim to us. A perilous gash, a very limb lopped off. And yet in faith 'tis not. His present want seems more than we shall find it. Were it good to see the exact wealth of all the states, all at one cast, to set so rich a man on the nice hazard of one doubtless hour, it were not good, for therein should we read the very bottom and the soul of hope, the very list, the very utmost bound of all of our fortunes. And there it goes. Thank you. Thank you. Faith, and so we should, where now remains a sweet reversion. We may boldly spend upon the hope of what it is to come in. Oh my goodness, it might be an explosive. A comfort of retirement lives in this, a rendezvous, a home to fly unto, if that the devil and mischance look big upon this maidenhead of our affairs. But yet I would your father had been here. The quality and hair of our attempt brooks no division. It will be thought by some that know not why he is away, that wisdom, loyalty, and mere dislike of our proceedings kept the Earl from hence. And think how such an apprehension may turn the tide of a fearful faction, and breed a kind of question in our cause. For well you know we of the offering side must keep aloof from strict arbitrament, and stop all side holes, every loop from whence the eye of reason may pry in upon us. This absence of your father's draws
I believe
I'm here about the new
that
spell you
shows
wanted to
ignorance a
teach
kind
me,
of fear
Professor.
before
Good.
not dreamt of.
Professor Fig indicated a certain
strain too far.
urgency to you
I'd
completing
rather
your
of this
defensive
absence
magic
make
assignments.
issues.
As
It lends a
such,
lesser and more
you are to
great
learn
thing,
Incendio,
a larger
the
dare for a great
fire-making
enterprise.
spell, handy
Then
for
the
lighting
Earl were here.
torches, burning away
For men
spider
think
webs,
if we without
and,
his help
when
can make a heed
necessary,
that push against the
defending
kingdom,
against those who
with
would
his
wish
help
to
we
do us
shall
harm.
overturn the
Sounds
topsy-turvy town.
versatile.
Quite.
It all goes well.
But before
It
we
all
get
are joined to
started,
whole.
I'd like you to
As
complete a
heart
few
can think,
tasks.
there's
You
not
may be
such a word
surprised
spoke
by
of
some
in
of them.
Scotland as this
Astonishing
term
how much students don't think their professors know.
It is a Richard
When
Vernon.
you're finished, come and see me. Then we shall
My
begin
cousin
working
Vernon,
on
welcome,
Incendio.
by my soul. Pray God my news be worth
You
a
know
welcome, Lord. The Earl of Westmoreland, 7,000 strong, is marching hitherwards. With him Prince John. No harm, what more? And further, I have learned the king himself in person is set forth, or hitherwards intended speedily, with strong and mighty preparation. He shall be welcome too. Where is his son, the nimble-footed madcap Prince of Wales, and his comrades, that daff the world aside and bid it pass? All furnished, all in arms, all plumed like estridges that wing the wind, baited like eagles having lately bathed, glittering in golden coats, like images as full of spirit as the mouth of May, and gorgeous as the sun of midsummer, wanton as youthful goats, wild as young bulls. I saw young Harry, with his beaver on, his cushions on his thighs, gallantly armed, rise from the ground like a feathered Mercury, and vaulted with such ease into his seat, as if an angel dropped down from his clouds to turn and wind a fiery Pegasus, and witch the world with noble horsemanship. No more, worse than the Southern March. This praise doth nourish our youth. Let them come. They come like sacrifices in their trim, and to the fire-eyed maid of smoky war, all hot and leave will we offer them. The mailed Mars shall on his altar sit, up to the ears in blood. I am on fire to hear this rich reprisal so nigh, and yet not ours. Come, let me taste my horse. Who is to bear me like a thunderbolt against the bosom of the Prince of Wales? Harry to Harry shall, hot horse to horse, meet in air part till one drop down a course. Wait, that Glyndor where come. There is more news. I learned in Worcester as I rode along, he cannot draw his power these 14 days. That's the worst tidings that I shall hear of yet. Aye, by my faith, that bears a frosty sound. What may the king's whole
Keep an
battle
eye
reach
on high
to?
places around the school
To
for
30,000.
Zenobio's cobblestones.
40 let it be. My father in Glendor being doth the way. The powers of us may serve so great a day. Come, let us take a muster speedily, doomsday is near. Die all, die merrily. Talk not of dying, I am out of fear of death or death's hand for this one half year. Scene 2, a public road near Coventry. Enter Falstaff and Bardolph. Bardolph, get thee before to Coventry. Fill me a bottle of sack, our soldiers shall march through. Will to Sutton fulfill tonight. Will you give me money, Captain? Lay out, this bottle makes an angel. And if it do, take it for thy labor. And if it make 20, take them all. I'll enter the coinage, bid my lunatic Petto meet me at the town's end. I will, Captain, farewell. If I be not ashamed of my soldiers, I am a sonnet garnet. I have misused the king's press damnably. I've got an exchange of 150 soldiers, 300 and odd pounds. I press my none, but good house soldiers, yeomen's sons. Inquire meet out of contract bachelors, such as had been asked twice on the bands. Such a commodity of warm slaves, as hard as leaf hear the devil is a drum. Such as fear the report of the cavalry, roasting struck fowl of a hurt well dug. I press me none but such toast and butter, with hearts in their bellies no bigger than pins' heads, and they have bought out their services. And now my whole charge consists of ancients, corporals, lieutenants, gentlemen of companies, slaves as ragged as Lazarus in the painted cloth, or the glutton dogs licked his sores, and such as indeed were never soldiers, but discarded, unjust, serving men. Younger songs to younger brothers, revolted tapsters and ulsters, trade fallen, the kinkers of a calm world and a long peace, 10 times more dishonorable rag than an old-faced ancient, and such have I to fill up the rooms of them that have bought out their services, that you would think that I had 150 tattered prodigals, lately come from swine keeping, from eating draff and husk. And mad fellow met me on the way and told me I had unloaded on the gibbets and passed the dead bodies.
I've got a great match lined up.
No, I have seen such scarecrows. I'll not march through Coventry with them.
I'm ready.
That's
Let's
flat,
do it.
nay.
Brilliant.
And the villains march wide betwixt the legs as if they had gyves on. For indeed,
Sebastian.
I had the most
Let's
of them
get
out
to
of
it.
prison. There is but a shirt and a half in all my company, and the half shirt is 2 napkins tacked together and thrown
Ready to
out
get thrashed?
over the shoulders like a herald's coat without sleeves. And the shirt,
Apologies in
to say the
advance.
truth, stolen from my host at St. Albans or the Red Nose Inn, keeper of Daventry. That's all one. They'll find linen enough upon every hedge. The Prince and Westmoreland. How now, Blown Jack? How now, Quilt? What's how? How now, Mad Wag? What a devil dost thou in Warwickshire? My good lord of Westmoreland, I cry you mercy. I thought your eye had already been Shrewsbury. Thanks for that. It's more than time that I were there, you too. But my powers are there already. The king, I can tell you, looks for all of them.
There goes the
He runs away on me. Never fear me. I'm a good captain of steel cream. Nothing to steal cream indeed, for the theft have already made me right. But tell me, whose fellows are these that come after? Mine, pal, mine. I never see such pitiful rascals. Tut tut, good enough to talk. Good for powder, food for powder. They'll fill the pit as well as better.
That round.
Tush men, mortal men, mortal men. Aye, but Sir John, methinks they are exceeding
I
poor
gave
and
it my
bare,
all.
too
You did
beggarly.
indeed. The
Faith,
duelists have
for the
already
poverty,
taken notice
I
of
know
it.
not where they
But
had that,
after that last round,
and for the bareness,
they'll
I am
really
sure
have it in
they
for
never
you.
learned that of me.
You'd better keep practicing if you want a chance at
No,
winning.
I'll be sworn, unless
Or
you
at least
call
the
3
fighting
fingers on the
next
ribs
round.
bare.
I'll let
But
you know
sir,
when we're
make
ready.
haste.
Hope to see you then.
Percy is already in the field. What, is the
The
king
next round is
encamped?
for all the gobstones,
He is,
so
Sir
to
John.
speak.
I fear we shall stay too long. Well, to the latter end of a fray and the beginning of a feast, fits a dull fighter and a keen guest.
Hello, Lucan. May I use the training dummy?
Scene 3, the rebel camp near Shrewsbury.
Give you a list of
Enter Hotspur,
recommendations for
Worcester,
Ready to
Douglas,
have
and
a try
Vernon.
now?
We'll fight with them tonight. It may
That
not
would be
be.
wonderful.
You
Be
give
sure
him
to
then
cast all your
advantage.
spells before the
Not to
dummy
wait.
lands.
Why say you
If
so?
you need to
Looks
stop
he not
practicing
for
before you
supply?
finish all of them,
So
let
do
me
we.
know.
He is certain, ours is doubtful. Good cousin, be advised. Sir, not
That
tonight.
was
Do not,
something.
you do not counsel well. You speak out of fear in your heart. Do you know something about this by my life? and I dare well maintain it with my life. It well respected honor bid me on. I hold as little confidence we fear too, my lord, for any Scot that this day
Excellent
lives.
form.
Let it be seen tomorrow in the battle which of us fears. Yeah, or tonight. Content, tonight say I. Come, it may not be, I wonder much. Being men of such great leading as you are, that you foresee not with
I'd say that's enough
impediments,
practice.
drag back our
Good at that.
expedition.
Thank you,
Certain
Lucan.
horse my
I say
cousin
better
Burns
to
are not
discover
yet come
one's
up.
weaknesses during
Your Uncle
practice
Worcester's
than
horse
during
came
a
out
duel.
today.
You'll be a
And now for
fearsome
pride and
challenger
metals
now.
asleep, the courage with hard labor tame and dull, that a horse is half the half of
Assignment's all
himself.
finished.
So are the horses of the enemy, in general, journey baited and brought low? The better part of ours are full vest. The number of the king exceedeth ours. Our God's sake, cousin, stay till all come in. Enter Sir Walter Blunt. I come with gracious offers from the king, if you vouchsafe me here in respect. Welcome, Sir Walter Blunt, you to God, you are of our determination. Some of us love you well, and even though some envy your great deservings and good name, because you are not of our quality, but stand against us like an enemy. And God defend, but still I should stand so long as I, out of limit and true rule, you stand against anointed majesty. But to my charge the king hath sent to know the nature of your griefs, and whereupon you conjure from the breast of civil peace such bold hostility, teaching his duteous hand, audacious cruelty. If that the king have any way your good deserts forgot, which he confesseth to be manifold, he bids you name your griefs, and with all speed you shall have your desires with interest, and pardon absolute for yourself with these herein, mislead by your suggestion. The king is kind, and well we know the king knows at what time to promise, when to pay. My father and my uncle myself did give him that same royalty he wears. And when he was not 26 strong, 6 in the world's regard, wretch and low, a poor unminded outlaw sneaking home, my father gave him welcome to the shore. And when he heard him swear and vow to God, he came but to the Duke of Lancaster to sue his livery and beg his peace, with tears of innocency and terms of zeal. My father, in kind heart and pity moved, swore him assistance and performed it too. Now when the lords and barons of the realm perceived Northumberland did lean to him, the more and less came in with cap and knee, met him in boroughs, cities, villages, attended him on bridges, stood in lanes, laid gifts before him, proffered him their oaths, gave him their heirs as pages, followed him even at the heels and golden multitudes. He presently, as greatness knows itself, steps me a little higher than his vow made to my father, while his blood was poured upon the naked shore at Ravensburg. And now forsooth takes on him to reform some certain edicts, and some strait decrees that lie too heavy on the commonwealth, cries out upon abuses, seems to weep over his country's wrongs, and by this face, this seeming brow of justice, did he win the hearts of all that he did angle for. Proceeded further, cut me off the heads of all the favorites that the absent king and deputation left behind him here, when he was personal in the Irish war. Tut, I came not to hear this. Then to the point, in short time after, he deposed the king. Soon after that deprived him of his life, and in the neck of that tasked the whole state. To make that worse, suffered his kinsman March, who is, if every owner were well placed, indeed his king, to be engaged in Wales, there without a ransom to lie forfeited, disgraced me in my happy victories, sought to entrap me by intelligence, rated my uncle from the council board, enraged, dismissed my father from the court, broke oath on oath, committed wrong on wrong, and in conclusion drove us to seek out this head of safety, and withal to pry into his title, the which we find too indirect for long continuance. Shall I return this answer to the king? Not so, Sir Walter. We'll withdraw a while. Go to the king, and let there be impawned some surety for a safe returning again. And in the morning early shall my uncle bring him our purposes, and so farewell. I would you would accept of grace and love, and may be so well, and may be, and may be so we shall. Pray God you do. Scene 4, York, a room in the Archbishop's palace. Enter the Archbishop of York and Sir Michael. Hi, good Sir Michael. Bear this sealed brief with winged haste to the Lord Marshal, this to my cousin Scroop, and all the rest to whom they are directed. If you knew how much they do import, you would make haste. My good lord, I guess Sir Tenure. Like enough you do. Tomorrow, good Sir Michael, is a day wherein the fortune of 10,000 men must abide the touch. For, sir, at Shrewsbury, as I am truly given to understand, the king with mighty and quick raised power meets the Lord Harry, and I fear, Sir Michael, what with the sickness of Northumberland, whose power was in the first proportion, and what with Owen Glendower's absence thence, who with them was a rated sinew too, and comes not in, or ruled by prophecies. I fear the power of Percy is too weak to wage an instant trial with the king. Why, my good lord, you need not fear. There's Douglas and Lord Mortimer. No, Mortimer is not there. But there's Morday, Vernon, Lord Harry Percy, and there's my Lord of Worcester, and a head of gallant warriors, noble gentlemen. And so there is, but yet the king hath drawn the special head of all the land together, the Prince of Wales, Lord John of Lancaster, the noble Westmoreland and warlike
Blunt, was
Blunt,
able to
and
accommodate
many
you,
Mo
and that you found.
Cordials and dear men of estimation and command in arms.
Glad to hear it.
Doubt not, my lord, they
And you
shall be well
should be ready
opposed.
to learn incendio.
I hope no less,
should be,
yet
Professor.
needful
Yes.
to fear, and to
I'm
prevent
sorry
the
to
worst Sir
say,
Michael's speed.
I visited
And if
enough
Lord Percy
careless
ride not ere the
colleagues
king
at St.
dismiss his
Mungo's
power,
to
he
assure
means to
you
visit
that
us, for
fire
he
is
hath
a
heard of our
fickle
confederacy.
servant.
And
Your
'tis but wisdom to
spellcasting
make strong
has
against him.
impressed me thus
Therefore
far.
make haste.
But
I must
please,
go right
maintain
again
focus.
to other friends, and
I would
so
rather we
forth, Sir
not
Michael.
end today's lesson with your robes aflame. Let us begin. And remember, focus on the proper wand movement. Concentrate, and keep your wand steady. Good work. Feel free to practice in the classroom before you go. I've set up a few targets.
God damn, you worthless. You're worthless. I'm not putting up with that at all. You're frauds on camera. False. Join it. Not be joined a goddamn dollar. You're a You can rake. Enter King Henry, the Prince John of Lancaster, Sir Walter Blunt, and Sir John Falstaff. How bloodily the sun begins to peer above yon busky hill. The day looks pale at his distemperature. The southern wind doth play the trumpet at his purposes, and by his hollow whistling in the leaves foretells a tempest and a blustering day. Then with the losers let us sympathize, for nothing can foul to those that win. Enter Worcester and Vernon. How now, my lord of Worcester, 'tis not well that you and I should meet upon such terms as now we meet. You have deceived our trust, and made us doff our easy robes apiece, to crush our old limbs to ungentle steel. This is not well, my lord, this is not well. What say you to it? Will you again unknit this churlish knot of all abhorred war, and move in that obedient orb again, where you did give a fair and natural light, and be no more an exhaled meteor, a prodigy of fear and a portent of broached mischief to the unborn times? Hear me, my liege. For my own part, I could be well content to entertain the lag end of my life with quiet hours, for I do protest. I have not sought the day of this dislike. You have not sought it. How comes it then? Rebellion lay in his way, and he found it. Peace, Chewit, peace. It pleased your majesty to turn your looks. A favour from myself and all our house. And yet I must remember you, my lord. We were the first and dearest of your friends. For you, my staff of office, did I break in Richard's time, and posted day and night to meet you on the way, and kiss your hand, when yet you were in place and encountered nothing so strong and fortunate as I. It was myself, my brother and his son, that brought you home and boldly did outdare the dangers of that time. You swore to us, and you did swear that oath at Doncaster, that you did nothing purpose against the state, nor claim no further than your new fallen right, the seat of Gaunt, dukedom of Lancaster. This was swore our aid, but in short space it rained down fortune showering on your head, and such a flood of greatness fell on you. What with our help, what with the absent king, what with the injuries of a wanton time, the seeming sufferances that you had borne, and the contraries winds that held the king so long in his unlucky Irish wars, that all in England did repute him dead, and from this swarm of fair advantages you took occasion to be quickly wooed, to gripe the general sway into your hand, forgot your oath to us at Doncaster, and being fed by us, you used us so, as that ungentle gull, the cuckoo's bird, uses the sparrow, did oppress our nests, grew by our feeding in so great a bulk that even our love durst not come near your sight. For fear of swallowing, but with nimble wing, we were enforced, for safety's sake, to fly out of your sight and raise this present head, whereby we stand opposed by such means as you yourself have forged against yourself, by unkind usage, dangerous countenance, and violation of all faith and troth sworn to us in your younger enterprise. These things, indeed, you have articulate proclaimed at market crosses, read in churches, to face the garment of rebellion, with some fine colour that may please the eye of fickle changelings, and poor discontents, which gape and rub the elbow at the news of Hurl-burly and novitian. And never yet did insurrection want such watercolours to inpaint his cause, nor moody beggars starving for a time of pell-mell havoc and confusion. In both our armies there is many a soul shall pay full dearly for this encounter, if once they join in trial. Tell your nephew, the Prince of Wales, just joined with all the world, in praise of Henry Percy. By my hopes, this present enterprise set off his head. I do think a braver gentleman, more active valiant, or more valiant young, more daring or more bold, is now alive, to grace this latter age with noble deeds. For my part, I may speak it to my shame. I have the trant been to chivalry, and so I hear he doth account me too. Yet this before my father's majesty. I am content that he shall take the odds of his great name in estimation, and will, to save the blood on either side, try fortune with him in a single fight. In Prince of Wales, so dare we venture thee, albeit considerations infinite do make against it. No good, Worcester, no. We love our people well. Even those we love are misled upon your cousin's part. And will they take the offer of our grace? Both he and they and you, yeah, every man, shall be my friend again, and I'll be his. So tell your cousin, and bring my word. What will he do? But if he will not yield, rebuke and dread correction wait on us, and they shall do their office. So be gone. We will not now be troubled with reply. We offer fair, take it advisedly. It will not be accepted on my life. The Douglas and the Hotspur both together are confident against the world in arms. Hence, therefore, every leader to his charge. For on their answer we will set on them. And God befriend us, as our cause is just.
Precisely. You mentioned
How?
being clever
If thou
enough
see me
not
down
to
in this
let
battle
thoughts
and
be
betrayed me,
restricted section.
so 'tis a point of friendship. Nothing but a colossus can do thee that friendship. Say thy prayers and farewell. I would it were bedtime, Hal, and all
What
well.
happen if we're caught in the restricted section?
Why thou owest God to death. 'Tis not due yet. I would be loath to pay him before his day. What need I be so forward with him that calls not on me? Well, 'tis no matter. Honor pricks me on. Yeah, but how if honor prick me off when I come on?
How concerned should I be about
How
the
now?
librarian?
How then?
Madam Scribner
Can
doesn't
honor
take
set to a
kindly
leg?
to clandestine
No.
activities
Or an
taking
arm?
place amongst
No.
her precious
Or take away the
books.
grief of a wound?
So do all that you
No.
can to avoid
Honor
it.
hath no skill in
She and I
surgery.
have had our entanglements.
No. What
I'd
is
hold my
honor?
own against her.
A word.
You may not
What
be
is
so.
that word? Honor? Air.
Thank you, Sebastian.
A trim
I'll meet you
reckoning.
later.
Who hath it? He that died on Wednesday? Doth he feel it? No. Doth he hear it? No, it is insensible then. Yeah, to the dead. But will it not live with the living? No. Why? Detraction will not suffer it. Therefore I'll none of it. Honor is as more scutcheon, and so ends my catechism. I'll be right back.
See there? That's the door we need to reach. And those annoying prefects would love nothing more than to rat on us to Scribner, so don't let them see us. Understood?
I can be sneaky. Let's go.
Hold on now. There's a spell you should know. The disillusionment charm. Good for getting places you're not supposed to be. Cast it and you'll appear as little more than a trick of the light, just as long as you keep your distance and stay quiet.
You mean I'll actually be able to turn invisible?
Something like that. It's not as foolproof as a cloak, but those are expensive. And spells are free. Give it a try.
Alright, scene 2. The rebel camp near Shrewsbury, enter Worcester and Vernon. Oh no, my nephew must not know, Sir Richard, the liberal kind offered to the king. 'Twere best he did. Then are we all undone? It is not possible, it cannot be. The king shall keep his word in loving us. He will suspect us still, and find a time to punish this offense and other faults. Suspicion all our lives shall be struck full of eyes. For treason is but trusted like a fox, who ne'er so tame, so cherished, and locked up, will have a wild trick of his ancestors. Look how we can, sad or merely interpretation, will misquote our looks, and we shall feed like oxen at a stall. The better cherished still the nearer death. The nephew's trespass may be well forgot. It hath the excuse of youth and heat of blood, an adopted name of privilege, a hair-brained Hotspur governed by a spleen. All his offences lie upon my head, and on his father's. We did train him on. And his corruption being ta'en from us, we as the spring of all shall pay for him. Therefore, good cousins, let not Harry know, in any case, the offer of the king. Deliver what you will, I'll say, 'tis so, here comes your cousin. Enter Hotspur and Douglas, officers and soldiers behind. My uncle is returned. Deliver up my lord of Westmoreland. Uncle, what news? The king will bid you battle presently. Defy him by the lord of Westmoreland. Lord Douglas, go you and tell him so. Marry and shall, and very willingly. There is no seeming mercy in the king. Did you beg any? God forbid. I told him gently of our grievances, of his oath-breaking, which he mended thus, by now forswearing that he is forsworn. He calls us rebels, traitors, and will scourge with haughty arms this hateful name in us. Re-enter Douglas. Arm, gentlemen, to arms, for I have thrown a brave defiance in King Henry's teeth, and Westmoreland that was engaged did bear it, which cannot choose but bring him quickly on. The Prince of Wales stepped forth before the king, and nephew challenged you to a single fight. Would the quarrel lay upon our heads, and that no man might draw a short breath today, but I and Harry Monmouth. Tell me, how showed his tasking? Seemed it in contempt? No, by my soul, I never in my life did hear a challenge urged more modestly, unless a brother should have rather dared to gentle exercise in proof of arms. He gave you all the duties of a man, trimmed up your praises with a princely tongue, spoke your deservings like a chronicle, making you ever better than his praise, by still dispraising praise valued with you, and which became him like a prince indeed. He made a blushing cittle of himself, and chid his traunt youth with such grace as if he mastered there a double spirit, of teaching and of learning instantly. There did he pause. But let me tell the world, if he outlived the envy of this day, England did never owe so sweet a hope, so much misconstrued in his wantonness. Cousin, I think thou art enamored, on his follies. Never did I hear of any prince so wild a libertine. But be he as he will, yet once ere night I will embrace him with a soldier's arm, that he will shrink under my courtesy, arm with speed. And fellow soldiers' friends, be considered what you have to do. Then I, that have not well the gift of tongue, can lift your blood up with persuasion. Enter a messenger. My lord, here are letters for you. I cannot read them now. Oui, gentlemen, the time of life is short. To spend that shortness basely for too long, if life did ride upon a dial's point, still ending at the arrival of an hour. And if we live to tread on kings. If die, brave death when princes die with us. Now, for our consciences, the arms are fair, when the intent of bearing them is just. Enter another messenger. My lord, prepare, the king comes on apace. I thank him that he cuts me from my tale, for I profess not talking, only this. Let each man do his best, and here draw I a sword, whose temper I intend to stain with the best blood that I can meet withal in the adventure of this perilous day. Now, Esperance, Percy, and set on. Sound all the lofty instruments of war, and by that music let us all embrace. For heaven to earth some of us never shall a second time do such a
See
courtesy.
her desk behind me. The key is in the drawer of that desk. Now, here's what we're going to do. I'll create a distraction to draw her away. You focus on getting the key. I'll meet you outside of the restricted section.
Oh, is that about Jews, huh? What are you doing with some Jews? What? Between the camps, excursions and parties fighting, alarum to the battle. Then enter Douglas and Sir Walter Blunt
Why do we
meeting.
need a key? Isn't there a spell?
What is thy name, that in the battle thus thou crossest me?
That's how I always
What
used to
honor
get
dost
it.
thou seek
But the
upon my
librarian
head?
twigged that I knew the spell and cast an
Know
antidote
then, my
for
name
a
is
charm.
Douglas, and I do haunt thee in the
So
battle
now
thus,
it's just
become,
this key.
some tell me
Don't
that
worry.
thou art a
I
king.
said I'd get you in, and I
They
always
tell
keep
thee
my
true.
word.
The Lord of Stafford dear today hath bought thy likeness for, instead of thee, King Harry. This sword hath ended him, so shall it thee, unless thou yield thee as my prisoner. I was not born a yielder, thou proud Scot, and thou shalt find a king that will revenge Lord Stafford's death. Enter Hotspur. Wait, Douglas, hadst thou fought at Haldman's thus, I never had triumphed upon a Scot.
Is someone there?
All's done, all's won. Here's
that
breathless
you,
lies
please?
the king. Where? Here. This Douglas. No, I know this fool. I know this face full well. A gallant knight he was. His name was Blunt. Similarly furnished, like the king himself. A fool go with my soul, whither it goes. A borrowed title hast thou bought too dear. Why didst thou tell me that thou wert a king? The king hath many marching in his coats. Now, by my sword, I will kill all his coats.
Oh, that
I'll
was
murder all
charmed
his
with more
wardrobe, piece
useful
by
than it
piece,
is.
until I meet the king.
It's fooled me twice.
Up and away, our
Don't
soldiers
judge
stand
its
full
own
fairly
by
for the
its
day.
cover, I say.
Enter Falstaff. Though I could scape shot free at London, I fear the shot here. Here's no scoring but upon the pate. Soft! Who art thou? Sir Walter Blunt. There's honor for you. Here's no vanity. I am as hot as molten lead, as heavy too. God keep lead out of me. I need no more weight than mine own bowls. I have let my ragamuffins where they are prepared, where they are peppered. There's not 3 of my 150 left alive, and they are for the town's end to beg dear and life. But who comes here? Enter the prince. What? Standest thou idle here? Lend me thy sword. Many a nobleman lies stark and stiff under the hoofs of vaunting enemies, whose deaths are unrevenged. Prithee, lend me thy sword. O ye how, I prithee, give my leave to breathe a while. Sir Gregory never did such deeds in arms as I have done this day. I have said, Percy, I have made him sure. He is indeed and living to kill thee. I prithee, lend me thy sword. Nay, before God, Hal, if Percy be alive, thou gettest not my sword. But take my pistol, if thou wilt. Give it me. What, is it in the case? Aye, Hal, 'tis hot, 'tis hot. There's that will sack a city. What, is it a time to jest and daily? Well, if Percy be alive, I'll pierce him. If he do come in my way, so, if he do not, if I come in his willingly, let him make a carbonado of me. I like not such green honor as Sir Walter hath.
Oh, that
Give me
one's
life,
charmed to look more useful
which
than
if I
it
can
is.
save,
It's
so,
fooled
if
me
not,
twice.
honor comes unlooked
Never
for,
judge a tone
and
by
there's an
its
end.
cover, I say.
Scene 4, another part of the field. Excursions. Enter King Henry, the Prince John of Lancaster, and Westmoreland.
Let her see you.
I prithee, Harry, withdraw thyself. Thou bleedest too much. Lord John of Lancaster, go you with him. Not I, my lord, unless I did bleed too. I beseech your majesty, make up, lest your retirement do amaze your friends. I will do so. My lord of Westmoreland, lead him to his tent. Come, my lord, I'll lead you to your tent. Lead me, my lord? I do not need your help. And God forbid a shallow scratch shall drive the Prince of Wales from such a field as this, where stained nobility lies trodden on, and rebels' arms triumph in massacres.
So what
We
is
breathe
it
too
you're
long.
looking for?
Come, cousin Westmoreland.
I'm
Our
looking
duty
for a
this way
cure to
lies.
help
For
my
God's
twin
sake,
sister,
come.
Anne, so that she can return
By
to
God,
Hogwarts.
thou hast deceived me, Lancaster.
Merlin knows
I did not think thee
everyone
lord
else
of such a spirit.
Why
Before
do
I
you think
loved
you'll
thee
find
as a
cure
brother,
in the
John, but
respective
now I do
section?
respect thee as my
Does
soul.
the Hogwarts matron have nothing that can help?
I saw him hold Lord Percy at the
No,
point with
he's
lustier
tried
maintenance than
everyone
I
from
did look
Nurse
for of
Blaine
such
to
an
St.
ungrown
Mungo's.
warrior.
But
Oi,
I can
this
research
boy
on
lends
my
middle
own.
to us all.
No need to concern yourself
Enter
with that
Douglas.
Right now. Let's
Another
focus on
king,
your
they grow like
own,
hydras' heads.
which is
I am the
what,
Douglas, fatal to
precisely?
all those that wear those
I'll
colours
know
on
it when I
them.
see
What
it.
art thou, that
You're being
counterfeitest the
awfully
person of a
cryptic.
king? The king himself, who Douglas grieves at heart, so many of the shadows thou hast met, and not the very king. I have 2 boys seek Percy, and thyself about the field. But seeing thou fallest on me so luckily, I will assay thee. So defend thyself. I fear thou art another counterfeit, and yet in faith thou bearest thee like a king. But mine I am sure thou art. Whoe'er thou be, in this I win thee. Hold up thy head, vile Scot, or thou art alike. Never to hold again. The spirits of valiant Shirley, Stafford, Blunt, are in my arms. It is the Prince of Wales that threatens thee, who never promises, but he means to pay. Cheerly, my lord, how fares your grace? Sir Nicholas Gauzy hath for succour sent, and so hath Clayton. I'll to Clifton straight. Stay and breathe awhile. Thou hast redeemed thy lost opinion, and showed thou makest some tender of my life. In this fair rescue thou hast brought to me. We God, they did me too much injury, that ever said I hearkened for your death. If it were so, I might have left alone the insulting hand of Douglas over you, which would have been so sweet in your end as all the poisonous potions in the world, and saved the treacherous labor of the sun. Make up to Clifton, I'll to Sir Nicholas Gauzy. Enter Hotspur. If I mistake not, thou art Harry Monmouth? Thou speakest as if I would deny my name.
Don't.
My name is Harry Percy. Why then I see a very valiant rebel of that name. I am the Prince of Wales, and think not, Percy, to share with me in glory any more. 2 stars keep not their motion in one sphere, nor can one England brook a double reign of Harry Percy and the Prince of Wales. Nor shall it, Harry, for the hour has come to end the one of
Wait, I
us,
don't
and
want
would
you
to
getting
God
into
thy
trouble
name
for
and
it.
arms were now
I
as
have
great
a
as
way
mine.
with the faculty when it comes
I'll
to
make it greater
disciplinary
ere
matters.
I part from thee.
Besides,
And all
I
the
like
budding honors
having
on my
friends
crest,
who are in
I'll
my
crop
debt.
to make a garland for my
Now
head.
go. Good
I
luck
can
in
no
your
longer brook thy
search.
vanities.
Now,
Enter Falstaff.
Where's that damn
Well said,
water
Hal,
I've
to a
got
cow. Nay, you shall find no boys play here. I can
know
tell you.
just the spell to repair
Re-enter
this
Douglas. He fights with Falstaff, who falls down as if he were dead and makes it and falls. Oi, Harry, thou hast robbed me of my youth. I better brook the loss of brittle life than those proud titles thou hast won of me. They wound my thoughts worse than thy sword my flesh. But thought's the slave of life, and life's time's full. And time, that takes survey of all the world, must have a stop. Oi, I could prophesy, but that the earthy and cold hand of death lies on my tongue. No, Percy, thou art dust and food for worms. Brave Percy, fare thee well, great heart. Ill-weaved ambition, how much art thou shrunk? When that this body did contain a spirit, a kingdom for it was too small a bound. But now 2 paces of the vilest earth is room enough. This earth that bears thee dead bears not alive so stout a gentleman. If thou wert sensible of courtesy, I shall not make so dear a show of zeal. But let my favours hide thy mangled face, and even in thy behalf I'll thank myself for doing these fair rites of tenderness. Adieu, and take thy praise with thee to heaven. Thy ignominy sleep with thee in the grave, but not remembered in thy epitaph. What? Old acquaintance, could not all this flesh keep in a little life? Poor Jack, farewell. I could have better spared a better man. Oi, I should have a heavy miss of thee if I were much in love with vanity. Death hath not struck so fat a deer to pay, though many dear in this bloody fray. Embowed, with eye see thee by and by, till then in blood by noble Percy lie. By noble Percy lie. Embowed, if thou embow me today, I'll give you leave to powder me and eat me too, tomorrow. 'Sblood, 'twas time to counterfeit, or that hot determined Scot had paid me Scot and lot too. Counterfeit? I know counterfeit. To die is to be a counterfeit, for he is but the counterfeit of a man who hath not the life of a man. But a counterfeit dying, when a man thereby liveth, is to be no counterfeit, but the true and perfect image of life indeed. The better part of valor is discretion, in which better part I have saved my life. Zounds! I'm afraid of this gunpowder, Percy, though he be dead. How if he should counterfeit too and rise? By my faith, I'm afraid he would prove the better counterfeit. Therefore, I'll make him sure, and I'll swear I killed him. Why may not he rise as well as I? Nothing confutes me but eyes, and nobody sees me. Therefore, Syrup, with a new wound in your thigh, come along with me. Range of the Prince and John of Lancaster. Come, brother John, but bravely, hast thou flesh that made me swords. Besoft, whom have we here? Did you not tell me this fat man was dead? I did, I saw him dead, breathless and bleeding on the ground. Art thou alive, or is it finished? Gaze upon thy eyesight. I prithee speak. We will not trust our eyes without our ears. Thou art not what thou seest. No, that's certain. I am not a double man. But if be not Jack Falstaff, then am I Jack? There is Percy. If your father will do me an honor, so. If not, let him kill the next Percy himself. I look to be either Earl or Duke, I can assure you. Why, Percy, I killed myself and saw thee dead. Didst thou? Lord, Lord, how this world was given to lying. I grant you I was down and out of breath, and so was he. But we rode both of an instant, fought a long hour, by Shrewsbury Clock, if I may be believed. So, if not, let them that should reward valor bear the sin upon their own head. I'll take it upon my debt. I gave him this wound in the thigh. If the man were alive and would deny it, then I would make him eat every piece of my word. This is the strangest tale that I heard. This is the strangest fellow, brother John. Come bring your luggage nobly on your back. For my part of a lie may do thee grace. I'll get it with the happiest terms I have. The trumpet sounds retreat. The day is ours. Come, brother, let us to the highest of the field, to see what friends are living, what are dead. I'll follow, as they say, for reward. He that rewards me, God reward him. If I do grow great, I'll grow less, for I'll purge and leave sack and live cleanly, as a nobleman should do. Scene 5, another part of the field. The trumpets sound, enter King Henry, the Prince John of Lancaster, Westmoreland, and others, with Worcester and Vernon prisoners. Thus ever did rebellion find rebuke, ill-spirited Worcester. Did we not sing grace pardon in terms of love to all of you? And wouldst thou turn your offers contrary? Misuse the tenure of thy kinsman's trust? 3 knots upon our party slain today. A noble earl and many a creature else had been alive this hour, if like a Christian thou hadst truly borne betwixt our armies true intelligence. What I have done, my safety urged me to, and I embrace his fortune patiently, since not to be avoided it falls on me. Bear Worcester to the death, and Vernon too. Other offenders we will pause. How goes the field? The noble Scot, Lord Douglas, when he saw the fortune of the day, quite turned from him. The noble Percy slain, and all his men upon the foot of fear fled with the rest. And falling from the hill, he was so bruised that the pursuers took him. At my tent the Douglas is, and I beseech your grace I may dispose of him. With all my heart. Then, brother John of Lancaster, to you this honorable bandage shall belong. Go to the Douglas and deliver him up his pleasure, ransomed and free. His valor shown upon our birthday hath taught us how to cherish such high deeds even to the bosom of our adversaries. I thank your grace for this high courtesy, which I shall give immediately. Then this remains that we divide our power. You, son John, and my cousin Westmoreland, towards York shall bend you with your dearest speed. Meet Northumberland and the prelates group, who, as we hear, are busily in arms. Myself and you, son Harry, will towards Wales to fight with Glendower and the Earl of March. Rebellion in this land shall lose his sway. Meeting the check of such another day, and since this business so far is done, let us not leave till all our own be won. Alright, for the bros, we're going to do the second chapter of Albert Einstein, The Theory of Relativity, other essays. I love doing these readings, I really do. It helps me focus, too. E equals mc squared, 1946. In order to understand the law of the equivalence of mass and energy, we must go back to two conservation... Excuse me. Let me zoom in. It's a little small there. In order to understand the law of the equivalence of mass and energy, we must go back to two conservation or balance principles which, independent of each other, held a high place in pre-relativity physics. These were the principle of the conservation of energy and the principle of the conservation of mass. The first of these, abandoned by Leibniz as long ago as the 17th century, was developed in the 19th century essentially as a corollary of a principle of mechanics, drawing from Dr. Einstein's manuscript. Consider, for example, a pendulum whose mass swings back and forth between the points A and B. At these points, the mass, m, is higher by the amount h than it is at C, the lowest point of the path, see drawing. At C, on the other hand, the lifting height has disappeared, and instead of it, the mass has a velocity of v. It is enough the lifting height could be converted entirely into velocity, and the vice versa. The exact relation would be expressed as algorithm with g representing the acceleration of gravity.
Professor Rackham.
Miss Isadora.
What is interesting here is that the relation is independent of both the length of the pendulum and the form of the path through which the mass moves. The significance is that something remains constant throughout the process, and that something is energy. At A and at B, it is an energy of position or potential energy. At C, it is an energy of motion or kinetic energy. If this concept is correct, then the sum algorithm might have the same value for any position of the pendulum, if h is understood to represent the height of c, and v the velocity at that point in the pendulum's path, and such is found to be actually the case. The generalization of this principle gives us the law of the conservation of mechanical energy. But what happens when friction stops the pendulum? The answer to that was found in the study of heat phenomena. The study based on the assumption that the heat is an indestructible substance which flows from a warmer to a colder object seemed to give us the principle of the conservation of heat. On the other hand, from time immemorial, it has been known that heat could be produced by friction, as in the fire-making drills of the Indians. The physicists were for long unable to account for this kind of heat production. The difficulties were overcome only when it was successfully established that for any given amount of heat produced by friction, an exactly proportional amount of energy had to be expended. Thus did we arrive at a principle of the equivalence of work and heat. With a pendulum, for example, mechanical energy is gradually converted by friction into heat. In such fashion, the principles of the conservation of the mechanical and the thermal energies were merged into one. The physicists were thereupon persuaded that the conservation principle could be further extended to take in chemical and electromagnetic processes. In short, could be applied to all fields. It appeared that in our physical system there was a sum total of energies that remained constant through all changes that might occur. Now for the principle of the conservation of mass. Mass is defined by the resistance that a body opposes to its acceleration, inert mass. It is also measured by the weight of the body, heavy mass. That these two radically different definitions led to the same value for the mass of the body is, in itself, an astonishing fact. According to the principle, namely that masses remain unchanged under any physical or chemical changes, the masses appear to be the essential because unvarying quality of matter, heating, melting, vaporization, or combining into chemical compounds, would not change the total mass.
Sneaking in the restricted section again!
Physicists accepted this principle up to a few decades ago, but it proved inadequate in the face of the special theory of relativity. It was therefore merged with the energy principle, just as about 60 years before, the principle of the conservation of mechanical energy had been combined with the principle of the conservation of heat. We might say that the principle of the conservation of energy, having previously swallowed up that of the conservation of heat, now proceeded to swallow that of the conservation of mass and holds the field alone.
Waste this.
It is customary to express the equivalence
There
of
was
mass
nobody
and
else.
energy, though somewhat inexactly, by the formula E equals mc
Oh,
squared,
Sebastian.
in which C represents the velocity of light,
Will your uncle
about
say?
186,000 miles per second. E is the energy that is contained in a stationary body, m is its mass. The energy that belongs to the mass m is equal to this mass, multiplied by the square of the enormous speed of light, which is to say a vast amount of energy for every unit of mass. But if every gram of material contains this tremendous energy, why did it go so long unnoticed? The answer is simple enough. So long as none of the energy is given off externally, it cannot be observed. It is as though a man who is fabulously rich, should never spend or give away a cent. No one could tell how rich he was. Now we can reverse the relation and say that an increase of E in the amount of energy must be accompanied by an increase of E in that mass. I can easily supply energy to the mass, for instance, if I heat it by 10 degrees. So why not measure the mass increase or weight increase connected with this change? The trouble here is that in the mass increase, the enormous factor c squared occurs in the denominator of the fraction. In such case, that increase is too small to be measured directly, even with the most sensitive balance. For a mass increase to be measurable, the change of energy mass unit must be enormously large. We know of only one sphere in which such amounts of energy per mass unit are released, namely radioactive disintegration. Schematically, the process goes like this. An atom of the mass m splits into two atoms of the mass m and m, which separate with tremendous kinetic energy. If we imagine these two masses as brought to rest, that is, if we take the energy and motion from them, then consider together, they are essentially poorer in energy than was the original atom. According to the equivalence principle, the mass sum m and m of the disintegration products must also be somewhat smaller than the original mass m of the disintegrating atom. In contradiction to the whole principle of the conservation of mass, the relative difference of the two is on the order of 0.1%. Now, we cannot actually weigh the atoms individually. However, there are indirect methods for measuring their weight exactly. We can likewise determine the kinetic energies that are transferred to the disintegration products m and m. Thus, it has become possible to test and confirm the equivalence formula. Also, the law permits us to calculate in advance, from precisely determined atom weights, just how much energy will be released with any atom disintegration we have in mind. The law says nothing, of course, as to whether or how the disintegration reaction can be brought about. What takes place can be illustrated with the help of our rich man. The atom M is a rich miser who, during his life, gives away no energy, but in his will he bequeaths his fortune to his sons M and M on condition that they give to the community a small amount, less than 1,000th of the whole estate, energy or mass. The sons together have somewhat less than the father had. The mass sum N plus M is somewhat smaller than the mass M of the radioactive
Were you
atom.
calling me?
But the part given to the community, though relatively small, is still so enormously large, considered as kinetic energy, that it brings with it a great threat of evil. Averting that threat has become the most urgent problem of our time.
Asked Poppy if she'd be interested as well, but couldn't drag her away from her puff skiing. I found 2 maps lying about, both leading to locations around Hogwarts. Care to have a look at one?
Following a Hogwarts treasure map. Count me in.
Wonderful. Hogwarts fascinates me. You can keep whatever treasure lies at the end of your map. I'll be satisfied just knowing where it leads.
Where do you suggest I search first?
Based on a cursory review of your map, I'd suggest somewhere near Hecat's classroom.
Very well. I shall take a look if I can find the time.
Fair enough. Meet me back here if you find anything.